So, so much noise out there cries out for someone who knows how to sort the spin from the substance. Let's bring in that someone. He has plenty of experience monitoring the government books. Former Parliamentary Budget Officer Kevin Page joins me live. Welcome to the show, Kevin. Nice to see you again. Any doubt in your mind, given what you know about the government, and you sort of had a pretty good picture of the finances before the writ dropped, are we in deficit already in all likelihood?
Well, I think we're very close to balance in 2014-15. Everybody's talking about 2015 now, and we'll get the final numbers for 14-15 in a few months. So we could be very close to balance. I think in 2015 we've had 5 reported months of economic decline. So that means weak revenue growth. It means higher spending on a number of programs. So I think most economists are expecting a small deficit.
Now here's the thing, we got all these promises that we're going to balance the budget, no equivocation by both the NDP and the Conservatives. Justin Trudeau says it might take years to get out of deficit depending on how bad the books look. Is it realistic to promise a balanced budget given the economic uncertainty and given how small the surplus was going in?
Well, I know there's one question, is it realistic? I think the other question is it good economic and fiscal management? When the economy is declining, when the goods sector is in a significant recession, it's down about 3% on a year-over-year basis, and it's not just energy, it's also manufacturing, construction are flat, so there's no growth. Does it make sense, to cut back on government spending in this environment in order to get to budgetary balance? I don't think it does. I think it's very normal when we have a recession to run deficits. So when the economy, when the economy strengthens, if we get growth in the 2.5% next year, we should see some improvement in that deficit balance, maybe get back to balance. But this year, I don't think it should be the issue.
I'm curious, though. The NDP plan to raise corporate income taxes. They haven't said exactly how much. But there's the way the Conservatives frame it. If you do that, jobs leave the country, mayhem ensues. Is that true? Do slight upticks in corporate taxes tend to send companies running for the border?
Well, I think if you compare our corporate tax rates, all combined, federal, provincial, I think they're very competitive with other OECD countries. There probably is room if a government wanted to increase those corporate rates. I think the current government, actually even the previous Liberal government, we've been cutting these rates. We were cutting them and actually deficit financing the cuts through the last recession. What the hope was that with these lower corporate income tax rates, we'd get more investment. We've seen no additional investment in the past 2 years from the private sector, which I think is actually a big problem, one of the reasons why we're not growing in 2015. So, if the next Prime Minister wants to increase some tax rates, over the next few years when the economy starts growing again to deal with other issues, healthcare issues, infrastructure issues, that may be the smart thing to do.
I'm curious, though. A lot of the announcements so far are small tax credits or tax breaks. Today, Justin Trudeau came out. School supplies. Thomas Mulcair came out with an innovation tax credit. Stephen Harper earlier had one. He's had a number of them. Anyway, I'm just curious, are these smart? Do these accomplish anything? Are they good fiscal policy?
Well, again, it's part of it's the scale, and if it's we're a $2 trillion economy, if we're talking about small increments of hundreds of millions of dollars, it may not be enough really to kind of or bold enough actually really truly to stimulate our economy. I think the other concern with a lot of the tax credits that have been announced over the past 10 years is that they start to complicate the tax system, and it gets quite confusing actually to fill out your taxes. But they're almost a lot of economists, we treat them as spending programs to deal with issues. We kind of understand that political people want to keep constituents happy. I think you're going to get a lot of it. Probably it's one of the reasons why we're hearing a lot of it now. Overall, is it going to make a big difference in the fiscal situation? I think the ones that are being talked about, no.
But you always red flag these and say, I've got no way of asserting whether, or you did when you were a parliamentary budget officer, asserting whether these have accomplished what they set out to do. Is that not the problem with these?
Well, they don't get reviewed by Parliament, so there's not a lot of accountability. There is some reporting by the Department of Finance in terms of how much, what the revenue loss is for some of these programs, but the fact that they're not reviewed, they're not evaluated is a big problem, and there's little accountability.
Let's look back just quickly on the overview on this. The economy is moving to center stage now. Do you think we need a big economic debate, or is there really anything that the government could do to deal with circumstances that are far beyond our borders?
Well, again, we've been, the economy's been shrinking since December. So long before we've had this, like the market turmoil of the past couple of days, out of China and impact around the world, like we were already in looked like a difficult situation. And so I think, it's fair, I think, to have this debate about, like, do we need some stimulus in the economy and what would be the appropriate measures? I think we've heard from a number of people that we need more infrastructure. If you look at our capital investment rate, compare it to where it was in the 60s and the 70s, it's much lower. You compare it to what exists in other European economies, South Asian economies, Southeast Asian economies, it's a very low capital investment rate. It's been flat for like 3-4 years now. So I think there is opportunities with record low interest rates to actually stimulate the economy through additional investments in public capital.
Here comes Economic Action Plan Part 2.
Hopefully.
Okay. Kevin Page, thanks for coming in. Appreciate this.